Hey, what's happening, everyone? I'm Tyler Feldman, live on Canal Street here in New Orleans. We've got the streetcar right in our face. Behind the yellow line, though, so we're good. We're safe. We've got the Sugar Bowl, the 90th Sugar Bowl here in the Big Easy tomorrow night, Monday night. It's a huge game between the Huskies and the Longhorns, and we'll be talking much more about it coming up after the break. Hey, what's happening, everyone? I'm Tyler Feldman, back here live on Canal Street in beautiful and vibrant New Orleans. We are just one sleep away from the 90th Sugar Bowl between Texas and Washington. Now, I'm not really sure how much sleep will actually happen tonight. It is New Year's Eve in New Orleans. There is a street called Bourbon Street here in the Big Easy. But as my good friend Jeff Jones shares with us and finds out from the Longhorns, there's a reason for that lack of sleep. All right, so thanks to my good friend Jeff Jones, we now know why the Longhorns are loving the city of New Orleans this past week, and they have a big game coming up Monday night. And one of the big reasons why this Texas team is playing in the Sugar Bowl is because of the strength of the running backs room. Tashard Choice, running backs coach, he has kept this unit together even after losing star running back Jonathan Brooks to injury, and Corey Mose shares with us how that has happened. C.J. Baxter, part of that three-headed monster in the running backs room. Keelan Robinson as well. Jaden Blue. Look out for those three guys in the Sugar Bowl. Monday night, Texas, Washington. It is New Year's Eve here in the Big Easy, New Orleans. The vibes are real. They're pretty great. And after I sign off here, I'm going to go see what those vibes are all about. That's it for sports. We'll be right back. Hey, what's happening, everyone? I'm Tyler Feldman, live on Canal Street here in New Orleans. It is New Year's Eve. It is also, though, the eve of the 90th annual Sugar Bowl. 90 years, that's a long time. Plenty of time for my guys, Brian Mays and Heikki Mustonen, to highlight the incredible history and culture here in the Big Easy. Great work as always, Brian and Heikki. Just so much incredible, beautiful, vibrant culture here in the city of New Orleans, and we've been seeing that a lot here tonight. It's only a little bit after 9 o'clock Central. It is New Year's Eve. It is loud. It is bumping. There is a lot going on. Expected fireworks at some point as well, and maybe a little bit of action on Bourbon Street. Of course, we'll have action and much more on the Longhorns and Huskies playing in the Sugar Bowl. That is Monday night tomorrow at the Superdome. Darren Nisha will be talking a lot more about that game coming up later on in the show in sports. Who's got it better? Sugar Bowl, New Orleans, 2024. You talk leadership, and Steve Sarkisian has certainly harped on the leadership throughout this season. One source telling me Washington quarterback Michael Penix actually had a players-only meeting. If you remember earlier in the season, Quinn Ewers, Texas quarterback, also a captain for this game today, had a players-only meeting, and we know how the Longhorns have fared since. They fared pretty well. Well, Jeff, first of all, what a great driving day from Austin here to New Orleans. Perfect weather.
You drove with Corey. Who was in charge of the radio?
I was, but I also drove all 8 hours because I love being behind the wheel. And speaking of being behind the wheel, that's the quarterback position. And Texas fans, when you're talking football, they love talking about that quarterback position. Mm-hmm. Quinn Ewers has been playing really well this season, especially the last 2 games, the Big 12 championship. He was the MVP. He was lights out. He plays big when it's a big moment. Arch Manning, though, comes into the fold. He's the hometown kid. He's from New Orleans, and there's a little bit more on tap for the hometown kid this weekend. Jeff, what's going on? So close, yet so far away. I'll have to check in with you after we're done with this. But how sweet is this? The Sugar Bowl, the 90th Sugar Bowl here inside the Superdome in the Big Easy. Texas football actually just announcing its captains for this game against Washington. Jalen Ford, Devondre Sweat, Quinn Ewers, and Jordan Whittington. Now, earlier this week, head coach Steve Sarkisian talked about cherishing the moment. And, Jeff, you talked on that a little bit, but that response was spewed from what Jordan Whittington had to say. That's a guy who has gone through so many injuries, but he's persevered, similarly to how Steve Sarkisian has persevered and overcome personal life battles to get to this point and build the culture within this Texas Longhorns football program. But I am so excited to see what transpires tonight between the Huskies and the Longhorns. Round 2, it's not often you see 2 teams play one another in a bowl game in back-to-back seasons. We get that with Washington and Texas, the Alamo Bowl last year, the Sugar Bowl this year. And for more on this game, let's send it over to my good friend, Brian Mays. Brian, what's up, my guy? The Sugar Bowl, 7:45 here in New Orleans, Texas, Washington. Rob, I am fired up. The sun isn't even up yet, but I am up. I am fired up.
Don't be too fired. We got to go back to bed so you can be working the rest of the night. All right.
No, I'm up. I'm not sleeping. Team no sleep, Rob. Rob, first of all, Happy New Year. It is such a great morning here in New Orleans. Game day for the Sugar Bowl. And to answer your question, so much has changed since Steve Sarkisian took over. I remember a couple years ago, I was in the end zone when the Longhorns were stunned by Kansas in overtime, 57-56. It was nuts. And at that point, I wasn't sure if Steve Sarkisian was right for the job. I think many fans were questioning if Steve Sarkisian was right for the job at Texas. However, Steve Sarkisian, give him credit, has proven time and time again that the growth he has made in his personal life to fix up all that stuff has really helped him build the right culture on the 40 acres. And now we're all seeing what that has done for not only Longhorn Nation, but Longhorn football. They're almost back. I don't think they're quite back yet, but if they can beat Washington, advance to the college football playoff championship, then hey, Steve Sarkisian is on the right track, and he talked about that right track earlier this week. In addition to cherishing the moment, Steve Sarkisian also said, as part of that quote, where we split it up a little bit, but he said, quote, "We don't have to stay where we are in life," end quote. That transformation, that idea that you don't have to be stuck. You can make mistakes and you can come out of that on the other side, and not just come out of that on the other side, but do some really great things on the other side. And we'll see how great Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns will be tonight. The Sugar Bowl, 7:45 here in New Orleans, Texas, Washington. Rob, I am fired up as we welcome back my good friend Jeff Jones to the show. Jeff, glad to have you back, first of all. Second of all, when it was 34-21, I really thought the game was over. 13 points, the way in which Texas was playing, I didn't see any hope. But that's not the case. Talking with the team after the game, they saw that hope, and we saw that hope in the fourth quarter. Rob, how do you know my schedule? Yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm up at the crack of dawn working out because I need to work out so that I can eat all the, I'm not going to call it junk food because it's really good junk food, but it's certainly food that, it's not fruits and vegetables, that's for sure. Beignets, when you think of New Orleans, when you think of the Big Easy, you think beignets, Café du Monde. We got there early, we waited in line, it's cash only. Not a lot of people hold cash on their pockets anymore, so we had to find some cash, get some change, but in return we got some fluffy, delightful, pillowy donuts with some powdered sugar on top, and I got to find out from the Texas Longhorns their review of the beignets. And I know while you're chewing, I know you're wondering, did Tyler bring napkins? Yeah, I brought napkins, don't worry. Don't worry, I got you. A lukewarm, room temperature beignet still hits the spot.
I don't think it can get better than that. Café du Monde is fantastic.
We'll go with 7 out of 10.
Let it be known, let's put this on camera. David Benda, first and only Longhorn to thank me for delivering the goods here at Sugar Bowl Media Day.
You delivered the goods. Thank you so much. Got me ready. I've not eaten anything, but these beignets just got me right.
On the eve of the Sugar Bowl, also New Year's Eve, we're entering 2024, and what better way to round out 2023 than with this gentleman to my right, Nelson Stewart, the head coach at Isidore Newman here in New Orleans. He just so happened to be Arch Manning's head coach at the high school level. How perfect is this setting? Talking Manning at Manning's. What is one thing about Arch Manning that we don't get as fans or people who cover the sport that you saw as he went through your program? That Texas Tech game, when he got that chance to step onto the field at DKR, the crowd went nuts. As a coach, his high school coach, what did you feel in that moment? He got drafted by the Cowboys. He actually tore his ACL, unfortunately. But I got to catch up with him. He's doing pretty well. I mean, we got to hear what he's doing. What's he up to?
Man, how did you claim that exclusive interview right there?
He was in the lobby of the hotel. I said, hey, I know that guy. That looks like DeMarvion Overshown. I said, I want to see if he wants to chat a little bit. And, of course, Demo obliged. Here inside the Sheraton in New Orleans, look who I ran into. DeMarvion Overshown, Texas X, now at the Dallas Cowboys. You're in the Big Easy. What is the feeling going into this weekend? A big game tomorrow, huh? Just so great to catch up with DeMarvion Overshown. With that torn ACL, he was getting some serious playing time. He was playing really well, and I think we were expecting to see a lot more of him this season for the Cowboys. But those spirits are high. He's got the right mindset. He's in the right organization. And it was just nice to see him parading around the lobby of the Sheraton Hotel. And, hey, speaking of parading, Jeff, Brian, there was a parade this afternoon, huh? He didn't think we, the media, he was saying y'all, didn't think that Texas would even get to this point, but they did get to this point. And I think that speaks to the culture that Steve Sarkisian has created within the program. Texas certainly has a great chance. The defense is fantastic, especially that defensive front anchored by Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat. Those two guys, Washington may have a fantastic offensive line, but they haven't faced a defensive line like we've seen Texas has this season. In the secondary, that's my concern for the Longhorns with that passing attack from Michael Penix. That's where I think if Michael Penix, and he's a gamer, he's a baller, if he has one of those big-time games, I'm a little bit worried about the Longhorns. Well, I like how you mentioned C.J. Baxter. You throw in Keelan Robinson and Jaden Blue, that three-headed monster, the running attack, if they can establish that and Quinn Ewers then can throw a couple passes deep to Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, they could win. I will stay consistent, though, what I said earlier I guess last year in 2023, when I said Washington would win 34-31. Rob, all I can say is get up. It's game day. Yeah, the Sugar Bowl tonight. This morning, the facts are I have gotten very little sleep. About 3 hours ago, I was out on Bourbon Street interacting with the Longhorn fans, with the Husky fans. One Longhorn fan actually recognized me, said, "Are you going home?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going home. I got to get some sleep for this morning show." He said, "You're going to be on the morning show?" I said, "I do it for the people. I do it for the community." And the community here in New Orleans has been awesome. Canal Street behind me was jam-packed about 3 hours ago. There were fireworks going off. Rob, I'll tell you what, I was on Bourbon Street late last night, early this morning. Good morning to all of you, by the way. Happy New Year. I actually saw, and I don't know how great this is to say on TV, but I saw a mom strolling her young daughter around in a stroller on Bourbon Street. And I look around, I'm like, what is going on here? Am I in a different country? Where am I? No, I was just on Bourbon Street. I was in NOLA, the Big Easy, New Orleans. There's so many pronunciations for this city that we're in for the Sugar Bowl. Again, it is game day. The Sugar Bowl is tonight, 7:45 kickoff. Texas, Washington, round 2. We got to see those two teams in the Alamo Bowl last year. The Huskies winning that game 27-20. This year, could it be different? We'll find out later on tonight. But what I found out earlier this week when talking with the Texas Longhorns, I found out how to really pronounce the city that we're live in, New Orleans. How do you pronounce the city that we're in?
New Orleans.
Seems simple, but we're getting variations. This guy knows what he's doing. He's a total pro.
New Orleans.
That dude was born here for sure. There's no doubt. Hey, got to give a shout out to Derek Williams, Louisiana native. He's actually from a town 2 hours west of New Orleans, and he actually sadly won't be playing in the first half of the Sugar Bowl because he was ejected for targeting in the Big 12 championship. I do expect to see him, though, in the second half of the Sugar Bowl, which will be very exciting for the hometown kid.
What are you going to remember most about this year's Sugar Bowl, the final game of the Texas season?
Michael Penix Jr. He was unbelievable. He really was. He was as advertised, 430 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and that Washington offensive line. They had him protected all night long. He was clean as a whistle. They could not get to Michael Penix Jr. Steve Sarkisian talked about at postgame how credit the Washington offense. The Texas defense just could not apply enough pressure to get to Michael Penix Jr., and that was a big part of this football game is not stopping the Heisman runner-up. Jeff had to make the drive to see the birthplace of Caesar.
What do you think?
Pretty cool. Pretty big building.
Yeah. Be sure to wipe your feet off before you go inside of Caesar's house.
Already been there, done that.
All right.